Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel, and I'm your host for LT Productions. And you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Beauty in Black. This is season 1, episode 7. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. You can like this video and also subscribe to my channel, and you can leave your comments below. Now let's get into this episode. Okay, so of course, you know, Beauty in Black is streaming on Netflix. I'm giving you the last 2 episodes today, and I have already started a new series, which is Tough Love Atlanta. They do broadcast every Tuesday on the YouTube channel. They already have their season playing on MyClio TV, which is a subsidiary of TV One. However, now that they brought it to the YouTube audience, and I'm going to be covering Bondage, which has been created by the one and only Mr. Carlton T. Clay. I have one more season, season 3, and I'll be caught up, and hopefully we get season 4. But you'll be getting a double dose during the week. Tuesdays and Wednesdays is my plan for all of that. And I may switch off. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But since I told you Tuesday and Wednesday, and how I'm working things out with Tough Atlanta, since it's going to be airing on Tuesday, I might put Bondage on Wednesday, and we'll go from there. All right, now let's really get into this episode. Norman, he travels to the tow yard after unaliving all of those people. He talks with the guard or whoever's at the booth area. He gets out of his Rolls Royce, and you know how they have some of the cars, the doors. He got one that's open up here instead of back here. Instead of swinging this way, he swings that way. I said, okay, go ahead, sir. So Norman's just questioning the guy in a more gentle way. He's not trying to berate him or anything of that nature. The guy ends up saying that whoever came through this tow yard when they were spraying this whole yard unalived his brother, and they made him clean up the mess. He wanted to know what happened. Norman wanted to know what happened to his wife. He said he doesn't know. There was one gray SUV there, or silver SUV, but he doesn't know. Did you get a license plate number? No. Have you seen this guy? And we look at the picture, and it's Jules. And the dude says no. And then he's like, are you sure? He's like, no. Because, you know, previously Jules said that he looked at all of the camera work and all that, and there's nothing there that is substantial to let us know what's going on with the wife. Norman has already started distrusting him anyways, because he's trying to work everybody in this family, and it looks like he has met the end of the road for him, and people are just not trusting him. The guy at the booth says that they took all the cameras. Then he sees a picture, and it's the same car that Charles drives in. However, who's at the car is the guy in the booth's brother, who was unalived. But I think that Norman is sniffing up the right tree as far as getting some of the answers that he wants. And I think all roads lead back, probably in his mind, that Charles is the one that ran over his wife, even though that is inaccurate. At the office, Roy comes back upstairs, and you can tell that he is very high. Mallory gets into his office and is just asking, like, just saying, you're high, you need to go home. Roy says, don't start nagging me. And again, she says, go home. Roy says, I am home. And then he asks the question of, why do people think that you run this company? This is my ish. And Mallory starts lecturing him about these drugs, that you need to really get off of them. And Roy says, that's the only way that I know how to deal with you. And then he says, you know, I can sabotage this lawsuit. And she said, you are out of your mind. Then Roy says, all of you ninjas work for me, especially you, BS. You know what I mean? So at that point, Mallory slapped him. In retaliation, Roy put his hand up to her throat and pushed her down on the chair. Calvin comes in, and he's like, is everything okay? Mallory said, everything's okay. And Roy said, you heard her. But Calvin was like, are you really okay? And she said, yes. And Calvin says, I think you need to go. And Roy said, I ain't going nowhere. Mallory said, you need to go, Roy. And Calvin's like, let's go. I got the car for you. Roy goes to swing on Calvin, and he didn't even make it anywhere near Calvin's face or anywhere. He just fell to the ground. Calvin offers to pick him up and all that, and Roy's like, leave him alone. Then Calvin does this reverse psychology thing where everyone else who had been talking negatively about his operations at the job, he was gassing him up like, this is your company, da 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 da. So then Julian was put on assignment to get him to the car so he can go home. And Julian said with her vindictive face, oh, absolutely. And I'm just paraphrasing that words, but let's see. We go to Varney's crib. Charles is there and he's looking for dudes to hook up with. Varney comes in and he apologizes. Charles has an attitude, but he softens up. Charles says that I'm going out. If Varney's in this place, well, let's smash. He said something else. He said the F word. And Charles still looking at him like, Varney says, you know I love you. Yeah, right. Then Varney asks him, like, where are you going? He says, I'm going to a bisexual strip club. Charles doesn't invite him to come, but he says, you know, it doesn't go with the business side of me. And then, of course, he scoffs, Charles does, and he says, I'm letting my private life be my private life. When Charles said, I've heard all of this before. And then Varney says, you know, this is the first time, you've had money all of your life. I am just getting money, and I'm not going to let anything stand in my way of getting what I want as far as having money. I have to play this game. You know that your father would not want me, or wouldn't want me in the business if he knew that I was gay. It's not even about being with you. So anyways, he ends up saying, you know, can I go? Charles does. And then Varney says, yeah, I'll be waiting for you to come back. But for some reason, Varney wasn't really confident that Charles was going to come back. And then he said, you're right, I'm going home. Well, why don't you bring back the stripper here and we can have fun? And he said, you mean it? And he said, yeah, if it's anything to get you to come back here, sure, bring him on. That was the end of that scene. So back at the club, Angel talks with one of the male strippers. We finally see all the male strippers that are in there. And it's kind of like All the Queen's Men. That's on BET Plus. That's starring Eva. We didn't see the front parts, but they made sure they showed us the behind parts, you know. But anyways, the stripper, we learn later on, his name is Salvo. He talks about, you know, that they're going to rob this guy, and we just need you to hold him. Angel has offered him $30K, and he said, cool. Kimmy goes into her stripper area, and Body all of a sudden starts announcing that that she has a new girl coming in tomorrow, and she's going to make a lot of money. And she's doing this tauntingness type stuff going on, like, I know something that you don't know type of deal. And she said to Kimmy, you're going to have to make a lot of money for me to stay off of your ASS tonight. But what we are is bringing in a 16-year-old girl. And Kimmy said, isn't that illegal to do? And she said, B, all of this is illegal. And then everybody just laughs out loud. Kimmy's getting ready to go out on stage, and then Body says, I can't wait for you to meet my new BITCH. I said, oh God. Can you guess where this is going? Guess who else is 16? That's on the cast. Calvin and Jillian, they have it out. They have this weird toxic relationship also that I'm like, okay. They're both talking about them screwing around with Mallory and Roy. And both of them said, they don't care about you. And then Jillian says, you're my man. And Calvin said, no. Since you're not, since you've been effing the boss. And then she said, yeah, I've been effing him. And he said, Calvin said to her, he's been effing you over. That's what he's been doing. When Jillian says, you know, I'm going to get even with you, even if it's the last thing I do. You made me tell you all about Mallory, all for you to just turn around, for you to turn on me and start effing her. But then she says, I'm about to rain icicles on you, MFer. And Calvin's like, ooh, in that type of spirit anyways. Horace, he comes to the club. and he spots Charles' car there. He's talking with the security guy, and he says, I'm trying to avoid this, da-da-da-da-da. He said, well, you can go around back where you can get what you need, where you don't even have to go into the club. He said, oh, really? Yeah, just go around back. So then as he's driving back there, you see so much sex. In cars, on top of cars, on the side. Everybody's getting it in. Some type of illegal prostitution going on back there. As the guys are getting serviced. And it's not just guy and girl. You see guy and guy. Now, I haven't seen much girl. I wonder why that's not going on. But hey, not my fight this time. So, inside the club, Charles is waiting for Salvo. But this is the guy that's going to help out Angel with this robbery. He asks Salvo, what do I have to do to get you to come home with me? Now, Salvo's supposed to be straight also, and he has his own regular female customers. Salvo's like, I'm good. And Charles like, well, something tells me that you're interested. He's like, no. So then he says, how much you talking? And Charles was like, how much do you want? How much do you think I'm worth? And he said, well, meet me in the bathroom. I think he asked, do you have some candy? And he said, yeah. Okay, I'll be in there. Mallory calls in Jillian to the office and says that you can go home. And she said, oh, that's okay. I can wait for you. And Mallory was like, why do you keep challenging me? Jillian doesn't have any answers and she just starts stuttering. Like, just go home. She calls in Calvin and then asks him, like, did you go to college? He's like, huh? Yeah. So how did you get this job? Jules. So are you and Jules pretty tight? Pretty tight. Now, do you trust him? And he says, yes. And then she says, well, I don't trust him at all. And if you trust him, I don't trust you, and I need you to get out. Calvin wasn't having it. And he started talking very arrogantly to her. And then he starts talking about the times that they've had sex. Like, didn't I F you really good? And like, what are you talking about? Don't talk to me like that. You're talking to me crazy. I need you to get out. And then I was like, no, you like it when I talk to you crazy. Basically, it looks like Mallory needs someone to put her in a place. She does not respect Roy. And that's why she talks to him the way and treats him the way that she does. But this dude is able to get in there, take charge, and says that you like it and we will have sex. And all this good stuff. Kimmy. Delinda tells her that Horace is back, but you gotta go to the back. Kimmy goes to Angel and says, hey, he's here. You gotta get ready. Blah, 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 blah. It's time. Body sees them talking and wants to know what's going on. She doesn't go up to him. She just is looking at them. So she goes outside and gets into Horace's truck. And Horace says, I want to meet Angel someplace else, not at the motel. And of course, okay, cool. We can do that a little bit later. Horace says, oh, you got to get paid. So then he gave her all this money. And Horace was like, well, why do you live in that motel if you're making all of this money? And she says, you can give me every penny that you got. And I know that it all comes back to you. And Horace is like, what are you talking about? Then she goes into this nevermind. She's making all of these insinuations and innuendos, like, I know something that you don't know, but you know what I'm talking about. And he really doesn't. He's very clueless. So, I don't know who called whom, Norman or Jules. But anyways, they finally got on the phone. I think Norman was like, well, why do you keep calling me, Jules? It's like, well, you haven't been in contact with me. Alex said that you need to clean up, but you didn't call me. What's happening here? Are you good? Norman says, my wife died. And then Jules says, I'm so sorry. Da, 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 da. And then Norman said, no, you're not. Who ran over my wife? Jules says, it wasn't Mallory. She had a driver, or it was earlier, whatever. And Roy had a driver. So then it was Charles. No, because he was already at the house earlier or whatever, blah, 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 as far as what the cameras were saying. Can I trust you? Says Norman. But then he says, you're on my brother's pocket. And then Norman tells, well, Jules said, no, I'm not. I'm here for you. And then Norman says, F you. I said, oh. I'm surprised he didn't tell Mallory. But Mallory doesn't trust him. At this point, all the chips are in the air, have been thrown up in the air, and Jules doesn't know what to do because things are out of his control. All right, so Charles and Salvo, they're in the bathroom, and they're sniffing coke. At this point, Salvo was really trying to manhandle him. Was going to bend over Charles in the bathroom, and he said, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't want to do it like this. I want you to come home with me. And then Salvo said, look, I want $3K. And Charles said $1,500. And then he ended up saying a 300 number. Like, if it was 300, no. No, we're going to still stay in the thousandaire area. We're not doing all that. No. Anyway, Salvo agrees to come to the house and all that good stuff. So Mallory and Calvin. Mallory calls Calvin into the office, I think, again. Oh, no, they were at the elevator. And they said that they couldn't get a replacement, but you're going to take me home tonight, and this will be your last night. They get into the elevator. There's still banter there going on between these two. And Calvin said, you know, I'm sick of your attitude. I would have thought you would have softened up after getting some deep. And then Mallory again was like, you can't talk to me like that. And he's like, yes, I can. He stopped the elevator, and they ended up having sex on the elevator. Come on, Grey's Anatomy. We go back to the club. This is after 2 o'clock. The club is closing, and Charles is knocked out on the bar table counter. And Delinda's trying to wake him up, like, wake up. It's closed. You got to go. He can't find his watch nor his car keys. He don't know what's going on. And he's looking around because he's kind of just still in that drug funk and all that. And they're like, we're not security. We don't keep up with your stuff, blah, 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 blah. So then they get the security guy to take him out. So Charles is left stranded at this point. Blah, 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 blah. Angel and Kimmy. Now this is after hours. They're about to go to Horace's home. What if something goes wrong? And he says, nothing's going to go wrong. Come on, don't get scary now. So they go up to Salvo's car. You're like, well, whose car is this? Kimmy asked. And he said, it's Salvo's. You told him this stuff. We don't need to include nobody in that. And Angel said, we need more people to help us. Kimmy said, you know, we can't hurt this guy. So they drive to this new house that looks trap house-ish a little bit. Kimmy asked, you know, where's your man at? He said, he'll be here, da-da-da-da-da. They go inside. Kimmy got a key from Horace. So when he comes in, they come inside and they say, hey. Angel acting like he's very into Horace. Horace tells Kimmy that she can stay down here while they do their thing, and they're going to go upstairs. Angel asks, how are you? Or Horace asks Angel, how are you doing? And he said, I'm good. I was missing you. And then Horace blushes and says, I don't believe that. I said, oh, okay. You're really smitten by this dude. And then Angel said, yes, I have been missing you. Let me show you. Then they go upstairs. So while they're upstairs, Angel pours bourbon and he's texting. And he's asking, Horace is asking Angel, who are you texting? And he says his baby mama. Which, you know, that's a lie. So, I don't know why Horace didn't really think about it. This dude got a baby mama. You didn't ask if he was gay or what. Of course, you're in this situation where you are discovering yourself. But you have a potential straight guy that's doing all this gay stuff. I would have been asking some questions. That's just my opinion. So he's still texting, like, you still texting her? Like, I'm still texting my baby mama, blah, 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 blah. Basically, he's telling the robbers to come home. So Kimmy's downstairs in the kitchen, and all of a sudden she gets a cell phone call from Rain. That says Rain. And she's like, hello? And then it's Rain. She says, you know, I'm in this other hospital. This old man moved me to another hospital. And Kimmy's like, I thought you were dead. No, I've been moved. At the same time that she's on the phone, Kimmy sees people coming up to the property to bust into the house. And then she runs upstairs. Next thing we see is down the private road. Charles' car is driving down the path, and all of a sudden we got all of guns are blazing, and all of a sudden the car is up in flames. So, is Charles up in there? I don't know. All we know is that he was left stranded. So, I guess it's a little bit interesting that this car is all of a sudden on the private road. So, we don't know if Charles is in there or not. But that's it for this episode. Hopefully, I kept you entertained. There was a few notes that I had to go down, but it's very interesting how Calvin is at this moment. I don't know if he was always fixated on her or what, on Mallory, but it's like, so you're getting off on this woman who has treated you horribly all this time, or at least you've seen how this person act, and now you think you're putting them in the place because you've given them good deed. That's quite interesting. I don't know what's gonna happen. Well, we're gonna know in just a minute. But now it looks like the robbers are coming in, and this next episode is fire. I'm still intrigued. Thank God that Rain is alive and she went to a nicer hotel or hospital. All that good stuff. So, Body's cooking up something, and it's nasty. But anyways, that's all I have. You know, I do appreciate everyone who comes to my channel. Like this video and also subscribe to my channel. And you can leave your comments below. Until the next one, peace.